Okay, once again, here we are. This is spur of the moment because of the conditions and the circumstances that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm pretty sure everybody in the world has heard, the assassination attempt of former President Trump. And we're just going to hear and kind of just dialogue and discuss about it, man. Like, just so much to unpack. And then in the midst of it, like, so many questions, bro. So many questions.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, man. I think the biggest thing about it is how I mean the media's talking about it and experts are talking about it and they're pretty much saying how is it possible that they allowed someone that was that close 150 120 to 150 yards away.
Yeah, about 150 something.
How it doesn't make sense to me how when a presidential candidate is speaking that that area wouldn't be secure. I
Exactly.
mean, when you look at the overview of, the satellite view of the field, those warehouses don't look very far away.
They don't.
And it almost doesn't make sense why they wouldn't have like another sniper team there, you
Hmm.
know, especially because let's be honest, the people that become snipers for the Secret Service and are the ones that are assigned to a president aren't amateurs. So
Uh,
if the reasoning is, well, maybe those snipers could confuse those snipers, it's like, come on, like
yeah.
that's not a thing. That doesn't happen with these guys,
Yeah.
right?
No, these are pros, man.
They're pros. So that that doesn't make sense why they didn't have adequate security. Now, this is the thing.
I don't know.
I'm not an expert in
Neither am I.
anything regarding the CIA, FBI, Secret Service. I'm not, and I won't proclaim to be.
Right.
But I did spend, from the moment I heard about it yesterday, I literally spent, I want to say, probably till like 2 in the morning, just watching reports, live reports. And then today, I probably spent a couple more hours just listening to these
Yeah.
different things. The one thing that did shock me, which is something that's not being talked about a lot, although I saw it on the way here, I saw it in a clip and you were playing it right now, is that whole prophecy thing. What's that about? That's
Yeah,
kind of
man. I
nuts,
know.
right?
It's seek Jesus. I mean, I could get this wrong, because remember, like, there's so much information that's thrown at you once. You're saturated with information. But apparently, there's a man that brought a prophecy. He had a dream 3 months ago to the date. It was done in March, and he spoke it on a table. And there's videos of this going viral, where he had a dream, a vision that God had told him, and that Donald Trump was going to get shot, and the bullet was going to graze his ear, like close to his ear, and then rupture his eardrum and bleed. And he actually pointed to the same ear, and then he was going to fall to the ground, and then he was going to have an encounter with God while he was there, and he was going to have like a rebirth, like kind of like a re-baptism, like a God moment,
Right.
and then that he was going to survive. He was going to come up, and all the judicial lawfare were going to stop, and then that he was going to be honored by God, basically by what God intervened for him, and that there were tough times ahead. And he also prophesied something about like a financial crisis that was about to hit, because he is going to win the term, because he prophesied about that. And it's so crazy that that video is going viral, bro. Like, it's crazy, man.
It is absolutely crazy. I actually, when I was hearing that, I'm very, you know me, man. I
Yeah,
question everything. So when I
yeah,
saw that, I was like, oh, let me see. Maybe someone doctored this up. Now, I have not vetted this clip that's been going around. So I don't know if maybe someone like, because I mean, there's deep fakes, right? People fake
yeah,
stuff all the time. Now I'm not saying
yeah,
that that's what happened, but
yeah. No, sure.
if it was indeed filmed 3 months ago,
Yeah,
right, or which is the timeline that I heard. I don't know if you heard a different timeline.
yeah.
It really starts making you question because it kind of goes into that place. Look, even if you're not religious, maybe you've had like a deja vu moment
Mm-hmm.
whenever well, everybody knows what deja vu is, but it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. But the thing is, when it happens, a lot of times it happens by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Deja vu moments don't really happen about something that's going on with someone else, right? It's something that's involving
Right.
you personally.
Yeah,
So
that's
that would be a different thing. Now it's involving a president, someone perhaps this guy has never met, right? So I mean, he's seen him. Everybody, all of us have seen Trump, right? He's a global figure, but for this guy to dream it in that way and be so accurate,
Yeah, it's so accurate.
it's really
The same
crazy,
ear
bro.
and the vision and everything in the video. I mean, the tape is. I mean, the tape is there, man. Like, I mean,
Who's
I,
to blame for this, though? Can can you? I mean, I
oh
know people don't like to point
man.
fingers, and we shouldn't. But maybe we should do a little bit of like uneducated guessing
Okay.
of pointing fingers. Let's see
Okay.
who's to
So,
blame here.
okay. So
Who's at fault?
let's talk like just the way we're talking, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not a professional. I'm not a politician. Um, simply a guy that loves Jesus, a family man. But before all that, I'm an American man. I'm
Right.
born and raised here. So like this is my country, right? So constantly for the life of my adult life that I've been part of this community and part of my family and part of this country. I mean, I pay taxes and do all that kind of stuff, and you start to wonder the people that are powers that be is like they say Trump had so much rhetoric because look wherever you are on this, um, anybody knows me. The people that know me from my church or beyond that, I have never endorsed a candidate from any pulpit. You're a witness to that. I
Right.
don't.
Right. 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 Right.
I don't ever endorse anything, anybody, a certain party or nothing. But I will say you have to vote biblically. And if it's not aligned with your biblical principles, then you should have your own convictions. You have your own answers. So no matter where you are in your political spectrum, you got to admit, as much as they blame Trump for this, now it's his fault that he almost lost his life. That's what they're saying. It's mainstream media. It was his fault, his rhetoric, the violence that he's promoted. Uh, it's just coming back. It's like kind of like a karma for January 6th kind of stuff. But like, hey man, January 6th is gonna be an eclipse by J13 now, which is 713, July 13th, because that's gonna go down forever in history of like, dude, Trump almost got assassinated. And by a
Right.
hand of God, he's supposed to be dead, man. If he wouldn't have turned his by millimeters, where he actually there's pictures of the actual bullet
Yeah, I saw it
flying.
today, man. Like right. Yeah.
It's like right there. He would not even be alive today. So it would be another John F. Kennedy, you know?
But you know what's crazy though? You're saying that you've heard all that it's his fault that that he got shot or whatever or got shot at. But I've actually been hearing the opposite on the mainstream media, man. And I intentionally focused my attention to the sectors of the media that normally talk really badly about him. So I focused my attention on CNN. I focused my attention on MSNBC, on Peacock. I went all on their networks.
Yeah, what'd you see?
And the thing is, everybody was talking about how much of a somber time this is, how bad this
Yeah,
is for the
it's true.
country. And they were also talking about how, that this shouldn't, they don't condone this. They're completely against this. I didn't hear, and this is the thing. Now, this is them. I also looked at a lot of sources that are like unconventional media, so like online,
Mm-hmm.
podcasts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm hearing these guys, I didn't hear one person say like, "Oh, you know what? Well, he deserves this because of this." I didn't hear anybody say that. So I do
Well,
wonder where you heard that because
it's coming from TikTok, man. TikTok rhetoric is like kind of like
so like random people,
random people, and it's trending even on Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter X now. um they're basically like, you got people saying like, basically, oh, a few more inches and we would have the problem solved. One guy's quoted like, this guy's trending, whatever. I mean, his name's out there, I'll throw his name out there, but but it doesn't really matter. I'm not here to point fingers, but he's got like millions of followers. He's a gamer. And the dude was saying, yeah, if you're gonna learn to shoot, go learn how to shoot first. You basically could have solved our problem. So they're celebrating. Well, basically, they're saying that they would have been celebrating for his death, and that kind of rhetoric is like, first of all, no matter how you think, death on anybody is just humanly wrong.
right?
Like, I get it. Like you can hate somebody for it, but the stuff that I was reading, yeah, I did hear that people are not condoning it. But the funny thing is, like, you got to admit they basically for the last 4 or 5 years called him Hitler, dictator, uh, commander in thief, all the names. Now I know Trump is called his, Sleepy Joe and Crooked Hillary. Like he gave nicknames for everybody, but
Right.
like it goes both ways, man. Like they have already, like they've always said, like he cannot win. Wh- Whatever it takes, he cannot take power. He is the next, the threat to democracy and the threat to democracy. So like, think about the rhetoric. Like they have to own up to that, man. Like
Yeah.
all of social media for the last 6 years have been against him so bad. Did you not think that somebody mentally unstable was going to get radicalized and said, "Oh, I'm going to take care of it for him. I'll go ahead and take care of it." Even if
Yeah.
they didn't pay somebody to do it.
Yeah.
Or let's say, for instance, I can't prove that it wasn't a deep state kind of thing, or that there's a lot, but because there are a lot of missing pieces here and there's a lot of questionable things, because I will even get started on that. But let's just put all that aside, because it seems like everybody that calls us conspiracy theorists, we actually turn out to be true.
Well, that's the thing, though. There is a lot of conspiracy theories that haven't
True. I
become
get that.
become true, right? So I think in this particular scenario is for him to be shot at. I think it crosses a line. Obviously, it crosses a line because now you're trying to inflict bodily damage to
Right.
someone. But then this is the thing, man. As long as there's been humans, we've always had enemies, right? As
Right.
humans, that we choose our enemies, right? Like, I don't think there's any human alive that doesn't have someone they don't like, right? But whenever you have the entire corporate media pointed at someone and saying this guy's a bad guy, now this might be an unpopular thing, but I mean, Trump is definitely flawed,
Of course.
right? Biden is definitely flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be people that look at Biden and say, hey, well, Biden is way less flawed than Trump, so we want him with all of his issues, right? Which we know he has a lot. And it's the same thing with Trump. The thing is, Biden, up till the debate, he didn't have, he hardly had any criticism of him.
Nothing.
Everybody was like, oh no, he's a great and decent old man. It's like, wait a second. If you go back to the 70s and 80s, this guy, this same guy that's a decent old man,
Yeah.
was talking about black people in a vicious way.
I know,
And
dude.
like people completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
This guy who had run for presidency, who had run to become the president multiple times, and even when he was running to become just be in the government,
Mm-hmm.
he lied about his record so many times.
Yeah.
And then you
Plagiarism.
look at his children, and yes, Bo Biden was a stand-up guy, but then you look at some other, his daughter and his son, and they have a lot of issues. So you start kind of going, well, this good and decent man seems to have a lot of like dirt in the closet,
Yeah.
right? Now, again, if you look at Trump, legal cases while he was
Yeah.
a contractor
But
and all
here's
this
the thing,
stuff.
bro. Like, here's the thing. Trump was never in public service, bro. The dude was always a playboy billionaire, dude. He was always a real estate mogul. I mean, the people voted him in 2016
Yeah,
because they wanted something different, bro. So it
that's
wasn't like
true.
they wouldn't look. If y'all mad because y'all Christian and you're like, well, he's not a man of God, or he calls himself Christian. You didn't vote for him to be a pastor, bro. Like he wasn't voted in to be a pastor, so he doesn't meet the qualifications for a pastor. And they said, well, he doesn't meet the qualifications for a president. What? But he's a businessman, and the country was falling apart. So the votes answered. Hillary lost, and then she cried about losing it. And I'm not saying I'm in
But you said it
defense
was
of Trump.
stolen.
Yeah, she said it was stolen, but then she questioned it for the whole 4 years while he was there, and then they brought up all the negative stuff, and then the Russia Gate and all that stuff, which was all false. Everything was fake.
Right.
Everything, the dossier and all that stuff, that's all fake. Was proven to be fake. And then they spent millions of dollars doing this, dude. And then next thing you know, pandemic. So it's like the 4 years he was in office. Yeah, the dude was fighting everybody against him like tooth and nail. They hated him, called him Hitler, everything. He's a racist.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you this much, bro. If your argument with me, and I am a proud Houstonian, you think otherwise, but like
That I'm not a
I'm
proud Estonian, or what do you think?
no, but I'm saying like me being a proud
Okay.
Houstonian, but like if you were like, let's say for instance, oh man, you're from Chicago. I don't know. What do you call hometown? You call Houston
Yeah,
hometown?
Houston's my
Houston,
hometown, of
okay,
course.
so
Yeah, man.
obviously it wouldn't work, but like if you were to come from like a different city and you live in Houston and we do life together and we do business together and we break bread together, we go to church together, but you root for the White Sox and I root for the Astros, that's not going to sever my relationship with you, bro.
Right.
Because your team that you choose to cheer for, it's something emotional that takes you to a place that makes you feel comfortable or identifies you, right? And that's the kind of point. Is like it's that's the political party that you choose, right? So it's like you're not picking a team, you're picking an ideal, the principles or the policies behind it. And you got to respect that. So if you are for XYZ and I'm against XYZ and policy, we can still be family, neighbors, friends. We can
Right.
still be churchgoers. But now the strong division, that's what caused it to be rhetoric. And the beginning was that they hated this dude so much that everything he did was completely amplified. But again, Biden, nothing. The laptop for the Hunter Biden laptop with all the beef and all the trash on it. Oh man, it was Russian disinformation, and then now we find out. No, wait a minute, they suppressed that. Who was the only person that actually brought that up was Elon Musk because he
Hmm.
bought the Twitter
Yeah.
and then he fought the Twitter files and then he released them and then now he's got an X on his back, bro.
Right.
Now
Right.
Hunter's like that. I'm sorry. Now Elon Musk is the enemy of the state.
Right.
So anyway, what I want to get to is like, I mean, nobody's perfect, but we didn't vote him in, quote unquote, the conservatives didn't vote him in uh to be the next pope, man.
Right.
He's got a few. I mean, he was a
Everybody
playboy,
does.
man.
Everybody
He's got
does.
some stuff, dude. Like, but at least he's better. That most people thought he was better for the economy, better for this, better for that. Okay, forget about it. But because you can't beat him in the polls and you can't beat him with the law and the indictments. I mean, I saw a joke, man. It was a meme, and it's probably racist for me to say it, but it's like he's been convicted, he's been indicted, he's a felon, and he just needs to make a diss track, and now he's a certified G. Like the
Hmm.
dude can start a diss track, and he would be like gangsta,
Yeah.
because he's been shot now. So I mean, like he's kind of like pretty much
Yeah.
he's from the hood now. He's OG.
A billionaire from the hood.
So
Yeah.
anyway, what
I
I
I think it's just it goes back to this. I think a lot of people are gonna disagree for the plain fact that they look at Trump as someone who is breaking what was well established already, like
yeah.
a certain mode of operation. And
Hmm.
so when anybody comes into the system and
A
breaks it,
disruptor.
they're gonna have issues with them. Right now, I'm a registered independent, so I don't vote down ballot on one ticket
Hmm.
on on one party. I vote for who I see fit, who I think is someone who is gonna do right by the state, by the country,
Right.
so on and so forth. But the thing is, I don't think independents are as common. I think we kind of we're kind of the minority because it's either you're rhino or or you're not, right? And
Yeah.
then of course everybody has these subsets. But I don't think because a lot of people were also talking about like, whoa, did Biden or did Hillary have something to do with this? I don't think so, man. I think what happened is this demented 20-year-old got it in his head that if he took Trump out, that it would fix everything. But let's be real, man. It's a good thing that he didn't take Trump out for a variety of reasons. I
Oh
think the main
man.
one is if he would have taken Trump out, I think that would have started us down a path where a lot of people would die, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here trying to make threats or anything, but I think what would have happened is the right would have said, they did everything to him, they threw everything, now they killed him. You're talking about a potential, and I know
Civil war, man.
people bring this up, right? Exactly. but a potential civil war. And the thing is, there is no scenario, bro. There's
Yeah.
no scenario
Yeah.
where if we enter into a civil
Yeah.
war, we come out clean.
Nope. Everybody gets their hands dirty, bro.
Everybody,
Everybody.
But sometimes you sit there and you question, and it takes moments like this to question it. Is that maybe what the powers that be
Yeah.
want for us?
Yeah.
Do they want us to destroy each other? Because why, like you said a minute ago, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're an independent, if you're a centrist, if you go for only the out party, like the third party, right? We should all be able to talk to each other before we have to raise arms against each other, before we have to start accusing each other of being racist and sexist and and homophobic and so on and so forth, right? And these labels, and there's another thing, these labels get thrown around so much now,
I
bro,
know, man.
that they're losing their value.
They
Because
have
let's
it.
be real. If you hear someone call someone a racist, you're less likely now to be like, oh, well, let's investigate than before. Because back then it was something that was thrown around in a serious scenario, right?
Yeah.
But now it's levied towards anyone
That
that doesn't
disagree.
have your agree. That
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
agree
You
with you.
disagree with. It's so dumb, right? It's
So it
like,
leads to this.
yeah, exactly. It's like if anybody wants to discredit you, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're a racist,
You're a racist.
or you're a bigot, or you're a misogynist,
Yeah.
or you're homophobic.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude. I mean, I thought that we were living in a progressive an era that we have more education, we have more science, we have a smartphone that walks around with it's a computer. I mean, we have satellites up in space that can look down at 3 inches of 20,000 miles of in the air. They can look at 3 inches down to the minimal focus in a minute way. And I'm thinking to myself, and we can't have a dialogue. We can't talk.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Divide them. What is the enemy of the art of war? Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. So basically, all you're doing is basically um rattling the cage or the jar of the ants. The ants, if you put them together, like that one saying, they won't do anything. They'll do and sit tight. But if you rattle the jar, they'll start killing each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the powers that be that have done that. I I don't know, man. There's just so much stuff. Is like, okay, I agree with a lot of the independent stuff. Like I'm more of a there's areas that I'm a libertarian, but I'm more of a kingdom conservative because I strongly believe like biblical principles because I think in the Bible there's no greater government. There's no greater like umbrella for mankind than God. I mean, he established it with 10 rules, but the rules are not like, oh, like slap you, you can't do this, you can't do that. It was to keep things in order.
Right.
Because think about it, what good would it benefit if he didn't say don't kill each other? Even though, I mean, we kill each other anyway, right? But what if it was just free for all or eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of thing?
Yeah.
And some people were like, we would be back to the Stone Age or what defines us? What's the difference between us and the primates or the animals? Nothing. There's rules. That's the only thing that defines us from that. So let's be honest. We can be civil. We can be responsible. We can be completely um, honest with each other and not be. We can be offended, man. Here's the thing: if you get offended because of something that I say, or I get offended by something you say, I think that you just need to grow thicker skin, man. Because come on, man. I mean, honestly, if your words, quote unquote, your words matter, um, then you should hate your parents for everything that they are and everything that they told you. Or maybe you do hate your parents.
Yeah. There's
Or maybe
people.
you're just like you're this complete snowflake and nobody can tell you anything. And I feel bad for you because that's no way to live life, man. That means the first job that you get, they're gonna tell you mop the floors, and you're gonna be like, because they told you in the wrong way, you're gonna quit your job, and what you're gonna do, live under a bridge?
Right.
I mean, I'm talking. It's called common sense.
Yeah.
It's called common sense. Common sense would have been like in this whole circumstance. There's a field. There's a lot of roofs. Why is that roof accessible? And then there's a video of a guy from BBC. Did you see that? that the guy that's being interviewed by BBC yesterday, that he was there at the rally and he saw the guy
Oh yeah,
literally climbing up the wall with a rifle, and
with a
he's
rifle.
trying to tell the police, it's like, yo, this guy, it's like, there's the guy with a gun there.
Yeah, that's what makes you start thinking.
5 to 6 minutes.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. That's where I have an issue right there, because that's been changing. So the guy, what he initially said, is he said 1 to 3 minutes, and now it's been being added on to, right?
Right.
Because, and this is the thing, and this is a fact. It's one thing to be able to have a timer right there and time it and look up and be like, okay, yeah, it's a minute, 2 minutes, great, 3 minutes. But whenever we recount things, especially in traumatic moments,
This is true.
the time scales can be dramatically shifted.
Yeah, they can be
Right?
misconstrued.
Because have you ever been playing a sport or something like that, and in the moment, if a camera is on you, something happened in 10 seconds, but to you, you were there for 2 minutes
Yeah.
because everything slows
That's
down,
true.
things change, your heart's beating, you're
Yeah.
extra focused.
Yeah.
So how do we not know that this was 30 seconds, right? And then think about this too, man. There was a crowd, a few thousand people there, right? So with a few thousand people there, you have one guy saying, hey, over here, there's a guy. Dude, I don't know if Secret Service can hear this, or so the people are talking. You have Trump talking on stage. You have people with walkie-talkies. Like, there's a lot going on there. Now, mind you, these guys are trained. These Secret Service guys are trained. Because I also saw another video with the snipers pointing at the direction where the guy was at. And then Trump gets shot in the ear. And then it looks like at the same time he gets shot, like the sniper guy shoots. But another thing I saw, which was on mainstream media, they said these guys that are supposedly looking at the guy that shot Trump, their snipers are trained dramatically past that guy. Because 150 yards, those scopes are for like a mile, right? So they're looking way down in the tree line. They're looking in the outer perimeters where a sniper would be at. So they're saying just because they were sitting there scoping it out, it could be totally
blind
past
spot
it. Yeah, it's a blind spot. It's too close. Right? It's like see, here, if I focus one of these cameras and I really close it up, sure, I can have something literally right under it, right here where I'm having my hand. And this camera won't see it because it's so trained on my head.
That's true.
So that's where you start kind of saying there is a lot of conspiracy. There is a lot of ways we can get into conspiracy. And let's be real, man. I mean, there's been a president that was killed in Dallas, and they still haven't told us what happened.
Yeah. And then here's the thing. Trump, actually, when he became president, I don't know if you read this, but this is, I don't know, again, we don't know. They only tell us what they want us to know. He went and read the files, the JFK files, and did not declassify them because he said that it was so disturbing that it would probably divide the entire country.
Yeah.
At this point, we can't trust them. Everybody, like everything from like, oh, well, you're gonna disprove this, you're gonna disprove 9/11 and all that kind of stuff. So let's just call this like the chemical trail and the chemtrails and the frogs that turn the
The
frogs
water that turns the frogs gay.
turn gay, and now the people are gay, and I'm like,
I drank some of that water. It's not true.
what I'm laughing about
My
is
buddy
that
drank it though. And he
it's
is
like
gay.
that's a whole in the flat earth, it's like they always label you like, oh, you're the flat earth and the tinfoil hat, and like you believe in the gay frogs and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but if you're gonna really joke about something, you cannot joke about the fact that there's just too much that has no answers. And why don't they give us answers for it? Like the whole Secret Service thing. Now they're arguing about the DEI stuff because there was a lot of female Secret Service, if you notice.
There was.
And they were struggling. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm saying there was. I saw it, yeah.
And they struggled with their guns.
One struggled with her gun.
One.
I saw her struggling, but the other one seemed competent.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the king of Wakanda can have nothing but women around him, why can't Trump, right? No, this is the thing though, man. When it comes to that, is I agree with this one little caveat. If you don't have the technical proficiency to be able to hold that position, then you should not hold it. Right? DEI should not matter when it comes to technical proficiency. Because it's the same thing with like flying a plane. If I'm going to be on a trip and I want my pilot to be the most capable person possible,
That's
especially if
right.
they're piloting a Boeing, because I mean, you never know
Right.
what those things can do, right?
Right.
So you want to make sure,
Apparently not.
you
And if
want
you do,
to,
you get
but
so
you want to
you
make
get
sure
suicided.
they're
Yeah.
competent, and that's in anything, man. So I will say that one thing: if they're competent to hold the position, they should hold it. But then there's another thing too, man. It's one thing to go through all the certifications and get certified and then become a Secret Service agent,
Mhm.
but it's a whole nother thing when someone's shooting at you.
Oh man, I'll tell you one thing. I've been shot. It puts you in a really rough spot, man. Like it really slows down. It actually like the adrenaline inside of you when you get shot.
Yeah.
Um, you have no idea how. I mean, I've been in a couple shootouts and I've been shot at and I've been shot. So it's kind of like it's one of those things that like you really stop to question, man. When you're there, it felt like 30 minutes, but it happened like in 3 seconds.
Right.
And then when you see your blood, when you're bleeding and you look down at your wound and stuff, you don't even feel it.
Um,
You don't even know that you're hit until you look at the wound and then automatically your brain catches up with it. And then all of a sudden you start feeling fatigue and sick and you want to feel like you're going to throw up because you're like, oh my God, you see your own blood, right?
Yeah.
So, um, in a fight or flight kind of moment, man, I mean, you can't judge people for acting the way they do, man.
Right.
If somebody goes hits the ground because of gunshots or that's just the way it is. But I don't know, man. So the Secret Service that he had was borrowed because he is obviously not a sitting president. The Secret Service that he had is from Mallorca.
Mm.
And that was appointed and borrowed by him. If I mean, at this point right now, I think what's gonna happen, dude's not gonna trust nobody. So what Trump's gonna do is gonna fire everybody, hire a whole new security detail. And the way it seems like it, he's probably gonna get top tier. Like most of the Secret Service are qualified, but he's gonna get probably. I guess he would probably get like SEAL team, Delta guys, ex mercs, like really, really high grade, super, super competent, like war heroes that are going to be watching this dude. And I'm certain, I doubt they're going to put him in a Pope mobile because you remember the Pope mobile? You remember the
Right.
Pope
Right.
mobile with
Right. Of
like
course. Yeah.
the bulletproof glass and
Yeah.
everything? I don't think they're going to do that. But we still got from here till the election.
Yeah.
And then he wins because obviously he's going to win. Most numbers and stats say that after a president has survived an attempted assassination, they jump up to like 23 points of approval rating because it kind of brings the country to like, wow, resilient. He fought off and he took a bullet for the country. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to affect people, but that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say. But if it's in the bag, he still got to do 4 years. What's going to happen in those 4 years, man?
Man, I actually don't know. I think our country is at a place where I never thought I would see the country, especially growing up. This place was always talked about and sold as something different. But
Yeah.
the more that time passes, while I am super proud to be an American and I'm super proud to be a Houstonian, I feel like people don't listen to each other anymore, man. And
Yeah.
and because of that, we are getting to this place. So it does make me wonder, like, what will happen if Trump, if Trump becomes a president? How will those 4 years go? Will they go smoothly? Will they be hard fought again? Because I think no matter, and this might sound, I don't know, kind of defeatist or something, but I don't think it matters who's in office
Me either.
because I think that the real puppet masters don't view don't view the country in a span of 4 years. They view it in a span of decades, right? They look at
Right.
10, 20, 30, 50 years and they're like, we're in power. We don't care what puppets we put in there. And I'm not saying that Trump's a puppet, but I'm definitely saying that the money has a lot to do with everything.
Yeah.
The first time he didn't take as much money, as much corporate PAC money as he's taking this time, right? Um, and I get it. People want him dead, and it's honestly a disgrace that somebody would try to kill anybody,
Yeah,
period.
that's true.
But let alone somebody, a potential president. Because like, what happens if this happened to Biden? Like that's not cool. I don't agree with that either. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's not
And
cool.
and I'm not a Biden supporter. And I mean, honestly, I think I told you this in the past, with not being on camera, but I didn't vote for Trump either.
Yeah.
Right? I voted for third party, and then the second time I voted nobody because I was like, look, I don't like what's going on here.
Hmm.
But for someone to try to kill him like this, it's just not right. But I don't know, Danny. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 years. I just hope that if that guy said something about the guy who had the prophecy said something about a recession or the country being in like financial turmoil, I definitely see that
Oh, for sure.
potential because the way things are going right now, man, it's freaking bad, dude.
Yeah, the inflation's way too high. There's gonna be a housing bubble. Who knows about the whole issue with the cryptocurrency thing? Again, I'm not an expert on any of that, but I just know I can feel it, man. I can feel it. Everything's more expensive now. It costs more to do less. And to be honest with you, I'd like to see how that's gonna get fixed, and I don't see it getting fixed, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like opening Pandora's box. I don't think you can put back in any of it. I mean, what's out is out, and now we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah. But I will say the general media vibe was that this wasn't cool. This was something bad. I didn't hear any blame being tossed towards former President Trump. But when it comes to social media and stuff like that, I mean, when you give everyone a voice, you get exactly that. Right?
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna have their own opinion and they're gonna have their own
Yeah,
followers and their voices are gonna echo to a certain extent, which is how it should be, because I mean the talking heads have been lying to us for so long.
and they have. It's been propaganda for
Right? So we should
forever.
be able to hear whatever we want. Now I have a question, and you don't have to answer this, and I can even clip it out. But it, did you vote for Trump like these last couple times?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
Trump was your guy.
Yeah.
See, and that's cool that
But
we could
see, but
talk
the
about
first
it.
time it was like, well, here's the thing. I mean, I'm a conservative. Everybody knows I've been a conservative, man. Said for as long as I've voted, right? But I grew up as a Democrat. My parents are Democrats. Like when we grew up, we were Democrat. And the funny thing was when my parents became Republican, like conservative, is the Reagan era. And it was because my parents were like illegal here.
Yeah,
And they were trying to get their papers fixed and trying to get their papers fixed. And he did something called amnesty in like 84 and 86. And my parents were able to become naturalized
yeah.
citizens. And he like helped a lot of immigrants out. And my parents have been, you know, Americans. Like they've paid their taxes and they love this country and they own properties. And so when as a matter of fact, I think my parents voted for Clinton, Bill Clinton, so it's like they didn't really appreciate what was going on, but they went like kind of like swayed and went to Reagan and then they went to Clinton and then they came back to George Bush Jr. because of 9/11, because of the leadership and coming together in the country, which we find out like then like the lies about the weapons of mass destruction. So it's kind of like, who are you going to trust, bro? Who are you going to trust? And I was like, okay, so what I want to tell you is that, yeah, I voted for Trump because I said I needed something alternative.
Sure.
Like they're lying to us. The Republicans are lying and the Democrats are lying. There's got to be somebody in the middle. And this guy was an outsider. He was a business guy. And I said, well, what do I have to lose to vote for him and think about his things? And I kind of, his stuff, the things that he was saying was like crazy, but it was almost like, it
Makes
was
sense.
gangster. Like I felt like I was pretty gangster, man. The way he was saying things, I was like, okay. The
Excuse me.
guy was probably, bless you, he's probably not going to be diplomatic. But at this point right now, whatever they're doing is not working.
Yeah.
So what's the third option, right? So once I started seeing his principles, and then I started seeing them all come against him, including his own party, and I was like, there's something here.
And that's
That's what made me a full Trump supporter.
and that's actually what kind of swayed me over this time. And I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to vote third party or if I'm going to vote for Trump, but I can tell you I'm not voting for Biden or anyone they put into.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why I mentioned that is because I even told my little brother. I told him I was, because my brother's a He's a Trump supporter and has been from day one, right? And I told him, I was like, look, dude, what doesn't make sense to me is how hard they're coming at this guy. I go, he gets out of when he was the president, Chuck Schumer in one of his meetings with the press said, "You don't mess," because he was messing
Yeah.
with the CIA and stuff at the time. He's like, "You don't mess with the CIA and stuff because they can screw you over 9 ways from Sunday, right? They can
Yeah.
come at you and they'll find a
I
way."
think he said 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah, 6 ways from Sunday. And so now he gets out of office and they throw the book at him. And a lot of people that are legal analysts as well as ex attorney generals, for states, they're like, these cases would have never been brought if his last name wasn't Trump.
Exactly, bro.
If he wasn't a Trump.
100%.
So if he wasn't the former president. So you go,
100%.
I go, we're not in a third world country. Why are they coming at this guy so hard? And then, so that's kind of what makes me say, you know what? Maybe there's something there. And I think a lot of the reason why a lot of Democrats, and I don't mean to speak for them, but I guess being a former Democrat, I see the both sides of the angle. And I think about it like this. I go, I think a lot of the reason why they don't want him is, first of all, because of the media spin, A, but B, because whoever's president this next time around is more than likely going to appoint 1 to 2 more justices.
Exactly.
But this is the problem, Danny. It's our own fault as citizens that we've allowed our elected representatives to kick the football over to the courts. So the reason why the courts are making all these decisions is because the politicians that we elect are unwilling to get their hands dirty.
Exactly.
Because it might cost them an election, or it might cost them votes, or it might cost them this or that. So instead of them making decisions, they push it over to the courts, and then now they're like, we're relying completely on the courts. It's like, what happened to these people that we elected? They just go over them. They waste time.
They waste time. And here's the thing. They make it into a career, man. They should make them terms, man. I mean, if you can be a Trump could be, a president can be in office for 4 years and serve 2 terms. Why is it that congressmen serve like 30, 40 years, like Sheila Jackson Lee and Al Green and Chuck Schumer? Like, these guys have been in there for like 50 years, bro.
Yeah. The approval rating for Congress and Senate
is ridiculous,
is
bro.
like 20%. That's the approval rating for these guys. Like, I'm talking about broad.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing out a specific congressman or specific senator. I'm talking about, if you look at the entire institution, when it gets polled, their polling numbers are 17, 20%, looking at the entire body. Why? Because everybody knows that a lot of those people are career politicians that don't have the interest in us. And then they allow something called lobbying, which everybody's familiar with. And they just put a fancy word on it. It's bribing.
It's bribing, yeah.
You're bribing this person.
Hey, man, I'm going to give $2 million to your campaign just when I try to do this contract with Waste Management. Hook me up.
Yeah. Or some of these lobbyists will literally contribute to the campaigns. I don't know if you've heard about this, but the lobbyists themselves will write the bill that they want them to push.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So then they'll literally write the bill. They'll hand it over to that senator, congressman, so on and so forth. And then that they will go to the other ones they've also lobbied, and they'll be the co-authors of the bill. And then they push the bill through.
Yeah.
So corporations are the ones that are doing this. So I understand that the entire system is corrupt, and people have been hearing this for a while, but it wasn't to the social media era where people started seeing it, because you were finally getting voices of dissent from other sides. So I'm glad that the social media era is here, even though at moments when it comes down to like some of this really nasty rhetoric regarding like, oh, well, Trump, that he's getting what he deserves or whatever. Right. Look, man, I don't think anyone deserves to get killed unless you're some sort of, mass murder or mass molester or something like that. Then yes, you should definitely get the penalty.
I agree.
You should definitely get the death penalty, and there should be a trial, right? Make sure there's a trial and justice is served. But the fact that Trump got shot at, and the fact that there was lapses in judgment from the Secret Service, the FBI literally like kind of dunked on the Secret Service, pretty much calling them out for them not being prepared or not checking every post. And the fact that he almost got killed, I think that really does make you look at things and say, man, like, first of all, we got to calm down. We got to chill out.
Yeah, they definitely got to calm down.
We got to chill out. The country's got to chill out a little bit. We got to take a step back and be like, man, this is where we're going. Yeah. But then this should also be a wake-up call to politicians and the powers that be saying, hey, I think people are getting really, really desperate, and they're really tired of having the boot on their neck.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are saying one thing that's kind of trending out there in the internet. It says there'll come a day that they can't walk in public. Think about it, man. We voted you in. We pay your salary,
Yeah.
and you abandoned us. Then you divided us,
Yep.
and then you blamed us for it.
Yep.
And all of these career politicians, it's just like, man, watch your back. And no one's inciting violence. I'm not inciting violence. But what did it take for this 20-year-old to get radicalized to do that? You call it the devil, a demon inside of him. He heard voices. Next thing you know, it was probably mental illness or schizophrenia. There's a lot of people with schizophrenia, bro. It only takes one person, dude. And the bad guys have guns. Good guys have guns. We all have guns.
Yeah,
But
everybody
there's a
has.
lot of bad guys that get guns.
Yeah.
And the bad guys cannot get stopped unless a good guy takes out the bad guy with the gun. So it's kind of like all of a sudden, the funny thing was like, the funny thing is we were laughing about it because all of a sudden the left, the ones that are anti-gun are like all of a sudden, they became gun
They became
activists,
pro-gun
pro-gun
activists.
now, right?
Yeah.
Because now people are like, who's next?
Yeah.
If they could do that to the president, former president, running for the president, now all of a sudden we're a third world country. This isn't Salvador, bro. This isn't Guatemala or Nicaragua. This
I mean,
isn't
some parts of the
Afghanistan.
country look like Salvador.
I know, man.
Right?
This is crazy.
That's crazy.
Every time I traveled, and I've traveled a lot, man. I've been to, by the grace of God, I've been to over 28 countries, man,
That's tight.
in ministry, and traveled all over the world. Every time when I'm flying home, there was nothing more amazing for me to feel like I'm back in Houston. I'm back in the United States. I felt safe
Yeah, me too.
every single time, no matter what. And I could be in paradise, man. I mean, like the last time I was in Italy, and we were in Italy. I enjoyed it. I was like all over Italy and Florence and Venice, and we did Rome and all that kind of stuff. And then shortly after, I mean, we also went to Madrid. I was in Spain. And then all of a sudden, we're on the flight home, and I was like, man, dude, I can't wait to go home and have a Whataburger. Just go home to Houston. And it was so dumb because like we don't have anything like of culture that would be like, oh my God. Like, I just saw the Tower of Pisa, and I'm like, I want to get home.
I'm good on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get home, and I just want to hang out, and I want to feel safe. But even now with the way we are, how much longer are we going to feel that, man?
Yeah.
What if we're just gonna have to jump ship and say, man, this is getting too crazy?
Yeah, it's nuts.
We need
No,
to we need to calm down, man.
we need to calm down. And of course, he's not the first president that has had that his life has been put at risk. It's
Mhm.
not the first president, and I don't think it'll be the last.
He won't be
right?
the last.
It won't be the last, especially if we continue to go down this path that we're going down right now. But I think the media has to be held accountable for their role in our current state of affairs. I think the politicians that are do nothings have to be held accountable for their role. And when I say held accountable, I don't mean their life's threatened. I mean that
No.
there has to be reform. Things have to change,
There
right?
has to be a
They have to
change, man.
legitimately change it. And younger people. I mean, like there's so many young people out there. Why are we letting all these old, super old senators and congressmen continue to rule over the masses whenever
Yeah.
a lot of them have lost touch. And so definitely if you want change, you kind of have to be the one that steers the change. Change won't happen without you. But I think it all kind of comes back to the beginning of the conversation, man. When I saw that Trump got shot at, I remember the first thing I did, I saw it and I immediately text my little brother and I sent him a picture of the news, right? And he texts back and he goes, real, a question mark, like for real, right? And I'm like, yeah, dude. And I sent a bunch of other pictures and he starts looking on the news and
Wow, man.
then I send it to Oscar and Oscar's like, what the heck? So Oscar calls me and then I'm talking to him and I'm texting my little brother
Oh,
and
man.
nobody and those are just two that I spoke to out the gate, and of course I spoke to other people. Nobody said this is a good thing, right? At least
It's a terrible
at
thing.
least personally in my circle, right? So I can say that while there may be those people that are saying, "Oh, it's good," or "He deserves it," or whatever, nobody in my circle said, "Hey, this is cool. This is a good thing." And I'm glad to see that at least the people that I keep around me are level-headed to understand that this is a bad thing only. And I'm
But
so
here's another
happy that
thing.
he didn't get killed, man.
One thing. You know what would be really bad, dude? Like if it would have happened.
If he wouldn't gotten killed,
Yeah.
yeah, it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible for the country, horrible for history, horrible for him,
Yeah.
horrible for the party, horrible, horrible. There would have been no good thing there. Would there have been people celebrating? Yes, there would have,
Yeah.
because that our country is so divided. But it would have been a horrible thing when you zoom out
Hmm.
and you look at the country in a whole. It would have been really freaking bad, dude.
Yeah.
So
So I think right now is the time to, if that prophecy is true, and I mean, then he's pretty spot on, man. That guy's like pretty close to it. He said that he had an encounter with Christ. He had an encounter with God, maybe a re-salvation moment, kind of like come with Jesus moment. If he has that, then God's going to hold him accountable for that because that was a God intervention. That was God intervention. So if, not saying if, God did intervene for him, and I believe that for a reason.
or the guy maybe just had bad aim.
He got off 5 shots,
He
man.
did.
He got off
He
five
did.
shots is what they say minimum.
Jeez, man. I
So
just feel bad for the
five
people that
shots.
the
Yes,
poor
bro.
bystander, man, that
Oh my
died
God,
for no
man.
reason, and the people that got
He was a
hurt.
fireman,
That's
fire
that's.
chief. He had daughters.
Jeez, man.
And he's not going to go home. I mean, he's
Did you
hit.
hear the hysterical screams?
Yes.
Like after the shots, maybe those screams were from like
Yeah.
the people that looked over and saw their dad dead.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! Like, you see what I mean? Like how terrible this is, man. It's just terrible all around. And
Yeah.
not even to cut you off. Go ahead,
No,
continue.
but think about it. That's what the devil does, man. It's like if somebody's under the influence of the enemy, man, there's only destruction. Everything God creates, the devil wants to destroy. So we'll close up by saying this. I think uh, Vic Victor's got it right. You know, we just need to calm down. We need to chill out. We need to take a step back. And I was in prayer this morning, and those that are like follow me on social media understand that I don't really share a whole lot. But when it comes to church, I share a lot for church. But personally, I like keep my life a little bit private. But I was really wrestling with a lot of things. And I'll tell you one thing, man. I won't go too far off of this, but yesterday I was in the shower. I was gonna go have dinner with my daughter, and we were gonna have a daddy-daughter date because that's you should do that. My daughter's 16, so she's like, "Dad, I want to go watch a movie. We'll have dinner." And I said, "All right, let's do it." And I was taking a shower when I was getting dressed. I get a text message from my buddy Eli. He's like, "Dude," and he sent me the picture, and I'm like, "Whoa." Same stuff. So I mean, like all of a sudden, like on my news feeds and everything on my phone, I'm getting dressed, but I'm wrestling with it. And as I'm driving with my daughter, I start praying. It's not so much because he's the candidate that I'm like leaning towards, but because man, this is terrible for our country, dude.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen next? And I'm thinking that the out of alignment of our country, the issues. I immediately kind of had a vision of like riots in the streets, social unrest, civil war, retaliation
Yeah.
of everybody that you could think of. That the quote unquote deplorables that were labeled, they're gonna come back, and you started thinking about it. You don't think they're not gonna get mad, but man, what's gonna happen next? Anyway, by some miracle, my mom calls me and she didn't even know. She just called me and just to check up on me. Hey, how's everything after the storm? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way. It's raining right now. I'm going to have dinner with Zoe. And as I'm driving, I said, Mom, they tried to kill Trump. And my mom busted out crying, dude. Like, she's like, what? She didn't even know. I said, Mom, turn on the news. And she's like, no me digas. And then she's like, no, right now. And then she started rebuking it and praying. She started speaking in tongues and she started praying over the country. And it wasn't so much for Trump because it was just our country, man, our
Yeah,
country. So she started interceding and I started interceding as we were driving. So it was a moment that was like a somber moment. Like,
it was.
let's pray.
Uh,
And I had to pray for repentance also because, you know, that you get stuck in your ways and you start to dismiss people because they think different from you politically. And that's not right. So let's just slow down and let's sit at a table. We're still going to have dialogue. If we disagree or don't agree on anything, that's fine. But we are all created in the image of God, whether you believe in God or not. I'm telling you guys, like, we just need to slow down and we need to be quick. The scripture says, be slow to anger and be quick to listen. So we need to maintain silent when we have to be silent. We can speak out when it's necessary, but let's just be quiet. Let's hold our anger and really, really allow God to work in our lives. And I don't know what else you want to add to that, man.
no, no, nothing. It almost makes you wish for the times whenever that reporter threw the shoes at George W. Bush. It's
Yeah, I
like, can we
remember
just go
that
back
that
to that?
sandal.
Let's go back to the sandals.
They start throwing sandals. I tell you what
Yeah.
they should throw. They should throw Crocs, man. Those things are
Yeah,
horrible.
well, I mean, we shouldn't be doing anything. Obviously, that was a joke, but that's it, y'all. Like, let's just calm down, like we were saying. And obviously, I'm no political expert. I am obsessed with news and obsessed with
Information. Yeah,
information.
me too.
But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know it all, and I don't know all the angles, and I don't know all the
Yeah,
political theories. But we should definitely like remember or not remember. We should go back to the times where we used to talk to each other,
yeah,
and then maybe things like this can be avoided. Obviously, mental health, people with guns and mental and people with guns that have mental health issues will always be around just because we have such a prevalent. We have so many freaking guns, but you know we do have systems in place when they are
hmm
followed. This is something that doesn't have to happen, right? We don't have to be handing guns to people that have mental disabilities, but guns are definitely important because it's one of, it's our Second Amendment. We it's something that we should have to be able to protect ourselves from
yeah. We
tyranny,
need to.
right?
We
From
gotta
tyranny,
have
from
it.
the government. But I will say this last point, and it has nothing to do with this, but just so that you guys know, this hat that you see right here, I wasn't supposed to be on camera today. I was just coming to shoot. Danny told me last minute to
Yeah.
shoot this, so this is a fact. I do love cake, but pardon my hat. I know it's a serious thing that we're talking about, but I was under the impression I was only going to be behind camera. But yeah,
Nah,
y'all.
man.
But I'll leave Danny for the last word.
Yeah, no. So, guys, anyway, thanks again for joining us here at Ground in HTX. Vic and I, we had to talk. We had to dialogue this out. We had to kind of flesh it out. No matter where you are, and you feel unrest in your life, peace is in God. Find Him in Christ, and we'll see what happens. We're gonna live life on a very interesting journey, one day at a time, and let's just chill out. Let's just chill out and take it easy, calm down, and remember, He's got everything under control. You know, the funny thing is, us preachers, we always say that like nothing catches God by surprise, and He's always on the throne. And a lot of people say that's so cliche, that's so dismissive, and you're not really in tune with people's feelings. But at the end of the day, I don't have the answers. Like I would not know what to say to my kids when they said, "Dad, is it the end of the world or what's going to happen next?" I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
It's almost like you want to lie to them. You don't want to,
Right.
but you also have to be a parent and say like they're looking for answers that you can't give them. So we don't have answers. Um, but I know who does, and that's the guy that's on the throne.
Yeah.
And the reason why he doesn't allow us to have these answers is because he's working his own plan out, and we just have to align ourselves to it. And I guess that's not whatever. If it's not doctrine, if it's not biblical for you, that's fine. But to me, I think that's the safest place to be. I'd rather be in his hands than away from his will at all times. So Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. We're praying for our country. The United States of America is blessed because God has always been a part of this country. And the moment we remove him, we're in serious trouble. So let's just get back to the basics. God first, family, and our country. Let's stick to our country, man. And I don't care who you vote for, but you live next door to me, you're going to be my neighbor. And if you vote for the Astros, you're going to be a patron. We're going to be we're fan club. So if you're Houstonian, we're Houstonian. So I'm just saying this: we're just a big family. We're the United States of America. Let's start acting like it.